We're live. Good stuff. Hello, hello. Let me see. I've still got a misbehaving chat here. It's showing up the chat for one of my scheduled streams currently. I'm not sure what to do about that. It's not showing the chat for this stream, which is not ideal. I'm not sure what to do about that, honestly. Well, I thought that was going to fix it, but I guess not. Hey, Bretta, how's it going? Thanks for joining. Let me see if I can get this sorted out before I continue on. I was hoping that once I started it would sort of snap to the right stream, but alas. Is there something I can fix in Stream Elements? I don't know. Otherwise, I might just turn it off because I've got the chat from the wrong stream, so that's not what I want. Try refreshing that one more time. Let's do this actually. I've got a cracking article to read, which someone has sent me. It looks like it's going to be a contentious one, and I don't have really a good idea of what it is exactly. So I think that's going to be useful. Yay. Okay, we're getting the wrong chat here. That's not what I want. Alright, never mind it. Let's lose the chat. We'll lose that for now. I can still see the chat even though it won't be on the video. But I'm going to read this article on Substack, Factory Farming 2.0. And the briefing that I have read is that there's part of the animal movement looking to quote-unquote optimize factory farming using some of the money that we expect to come into the movement from the Anthropic millions. But I don't have a lot of context on what this means exactly or what that entails, so let's get into it. We have got, at 5 o'clock, Ximena Rodriguez coming on from Vegan Hacktivists to tell us about a way to do even more for animals. So that's going to be cool. The platform is called Flockwork, and Ximena is going to tell us about some of the opportunities on there. It's basically built for people who spend a lot of time on the internet and want to do a lot of stuff for animals. That's my understanding. So we will be speaking to Ximena at 5. Let me go ahead and set myself a timer for that. And this time, unlike when I spoke to the Plant-Based Universities guys, I will check that the sound's working. Really gutted from my last interview stream. We missed like half of the audio in that interview, but there we go. You win some, you lose some. You live and learn. And other cliches too numerous to mention. Factory Farming 2.0. A movement built to end factory farming is spending its largest windfall ever to upgrade it. We go into this with a bit of trepidation about the content and also about the length. We've got a call coming up on the hour, so we'll do what we can. Let's go. An animal advocacy non-profit is currently hiring staff to run a commercial broiler farm, not to shut one down, to operate one. They will buy day-old chicks. They will own them for the 6 weeks a broiler lives. Then a catching crew will come at night, the birds will be crated and driven to a slaughterhouse, and the charity will invoice for them. Donor money will absorb the R&D failures a producer would never risk on its own dime. Read that again as an economist would. A charity is paying down the adoption risk on a production technology so that the industry doesn't have to. Hey Jeremy, how's it going? Thanks for joining, nice to see you. Frontier husbandry is not a rogue project. It's the clearest single artifact of a turn the central institutions of animal advocacy have made recently and fast, announced as a series of good news items rather than as the strategic reversal it is, and it did not come out of nowhere. In 2025, Shrimp Welfare Project published its vision for the decade ahead, naming the rise of AI-automated super-intensive agriculture factory farming 2.0, and warning that the window to shift its trajectory was open now and would not stay open. That is among the sharpest strategic calls this movement has made in a decade. Correct and years ahead of the field. Here is what the movement did with the warning. Built the thing it warned about faster than anyone else could have, with applause. It's not sounding like a huge dub so far. In 18 months, Animal Advocacy has assembled a complete pipeline for developing, financing and selling technology that makes animal agriculture more profitable. A non-profit venture studio spinning out for-profit companies on the thesis that the most durable welfare gains are the ones industry wants to buy. A venture fund run by the founder of the Humane League, whose second fund has already backed livestock monitoring software, pitched to producers on mortality and labour costs. A think tank soliciting commercial partners to trial technology against feed conversion and growth rate. An incubator recruiting founders who need not be vegan, need no movement background, and need not feel much when you see a chicken. And an intellectual case to hold it together, the field's most discussed AI analysis, which rules out preventing AI from worsening factory farming, while listing PLF for good, precision livestock farming, the industry term for AI in factory farms and slaughterhouses, among the promising options. Oh, nice, Jeremy. Ah, that's cool. Congratulations on the move. None of this is hidden. It was all announced as good news, funded by respected institutions, built by people with real records of reducing suffering. That is what makes it dangerous. The theory behind it rests on one belief. Intensification and entrenchment of factory farming is coming regardless of what we do. We can't fight it, so we should try to optimize it instead. That belief is false, and we have historical evidence that it's false. And because it's false, this movement is about to spend the largest sum it has ever held making the system exist to end more efficient, more capitalized, and more durable, while calling it pragmatism. Okay, colour me curious so far. I feel like I haven't read enough about what exactly this is going to be, and what the theory of change is in terms of how it connects to reducing farmed animal suffering. The people running this play are not the fringe. They're the central institutions of this movement, its funders, its incubators, the founders of its most prominent organisations. This is what that layer has chosen to do with decades of accumulated legitimacy and the biggest windfall the movement has ever seen. Build the infrastructure of the thing we exist to end. That windfall is arriving now, and it's arriving fast. On the 28th of May 2026, Anthropic raised $65 billion at a $965 billion valuation and filed a confidential draft S1 4 days later. Reporting points to an autumn Nasdaq listing above $1 trillion. Ambitious Impact has already named the mechanism. Part of the funding surge comes from E2Gers, who have come into a lot of money through their equity in AI labs. I'm not sure what E2G is. The EA Animal Welfare Fund. Am I meant to know what that is? The EA Animal Welfare Fund is planning to deploy $20 million plus annually against roughly $6 million in 2025, and leaders are now openly worried about absorptive capacity. Too much money, not enough places to put it. Yeah, I mean, I've heard people saying this about the expected windfall coming into the animal movement. I can't get my head around how that can be a problem, frankly. Because obviously, to some extent, you are constrained by infrastructure and, organizational health, and you can't necessarily just double the budget of an organization and expect them to do twice as much next year. But there seems like a lot of places where we definitely can expect that. Like, for example, public outreach and marketing, things like Project Slingshot. Seems like you could just 10x the budget for that and 10x the coverage. Earning to give. Yeah, okay. I got you. Thanks for that, Jeremy. Yeah, so I mean, having too much money and not enough places to put it, I would have thought we'll never run out of places that we could put it. Of course, from the donors' perspective, they want it to have like the highest marginal impact, right? Don't just pour all of the money into something that's going to have diminishing returns. You want to make sure that you're funding the right, most effective things. But I think that, yeah, basically marketing, public, mass media and digital media marketing has a pretty much infinite potential. I would be tempted to just pour that money into those mass marketing efforts and get a message like Project Slingshot in front of 10 or 100 times as many people. But there you go. Stray Dog Institute's 2024 survey found that 36% of surveyed organisations are operating on under $100,000 a year. A movement in which most organisations run on almost nothing has just declared it has too much money. Both things are true at once, and they are only compatible under a particular definition of who counts as a recipient of the incoming funding. What counts as a legible recipient is a tech startup building factory farming 2.0, not an animal activist campaigning to end it. Absorptive capacity is not a fact about the world. It's a fact about which recipients a specific and narrow worldview can see. Well, again, I do think there's some case for wanting to use the money efficiently. But from my perspective, it does seem like there's pretty much infinite opportunities if only we have funding for them. Hey, Smoke and Mirrors, nice to see you. I always see you in the comments, rarely in the live chat, but good to see you today. Sandcastles also published a blog post where he's pushing for the factory farming optimization. It's awful. Oh, I think I saw that come into my email inbox. Okay, so that's something that Sandcastles is on top of. I probably should also read his pro case to give a bit of a balanced take here. I probably won't have time to do that today, but yeah, I'd like to know what the argument for this is, because it doesn't seem... I'm only kind of reading the criticism at the moment, so it seems like I don't really have a good idea of what the pro case is. There's a single question capable of sorting good spending from bad in this environment, and almost nobody in the field is currently asking it. Does this intervention make the industries that exploit animals more durable or less durable, independent of whether it reduces suffering inside it? Call it the durability test. Everything below is an application of it. Okay, this is an interesting angle. Yeah, so durability as opposed to immediate suffering reduction, sort of proposed as the key metric to care about here. I guess the idea is that you could have some intervention which actually increases suffering, but which makes it less feasible to do factory farming in the long term. Now, I'm also sympathetic to the case that that could be a worthwhile trade-off, because you have, if you think about it like suffering per year and it's going over time, the area under the curve is going to be larger the longer it goes on, and that's probably more than the quantity of suffering in any given year, if you see what I mean. But, well, let's see. Interesting, smoke and mirrors, interesting, okay. Unavoidable. In September 2025, animal charity evaluators interviewed Aaron Boddy, co-founder of Shrimp Welfare Project, on precision livestock farming, PLF. He wrote, "AI is going to enable intensification. Unfortunately, this just seems unavoidable." Then immediately the turn. He thinks the same technology could deliver a level of individualized monitoring that actually improves shrimp welfare if we engage with this in the right way. Two sentences concede the trajectory. The third proposes to ride it. The hinge between them is a single word. Sit with that word, unavoidable. Well, AI enabling intensification, I think that probably is unavoidable now. I think that's I'd be surprised if that's not already happening to some extent. Like, we have pretty good AI systems already. Factory farming companies have access to them. It'd be surprising if they're not already doing some nefarious things with that. But okay. Unavoidable is not a finding, is not an observation about the world in the way that intensification is coming is an observation about the world. It's a claim about power, about which forces can be redirected and which cannot. And it is currently being stated in the register of a weather report while hundreds of millions of dollars move behind it. Okay, well, I mean, I'm saying it probably is unavoidable in this narrow sense of AI enabling further intensification of animal farming. But okay. Aaron's organisation is the one that named Factory Farming 2.0 and called the window on it before anyone else did. The person who saw this coming most clearly is the same person who concluded it could not be fought. It is worth being concrete about what he is right about and what he is wrong about. In Izhou, in Hubei province, a pair of 26-storey buildings turns out 1.2 million pigs a year, holding around 650,000 animals at a time, fed through more than 30,000 automated points, moved between floors by 6 lifts carrying 40 pigs each, with a ground floor control room tracking temperature, humidity, ventilation and toxic gas across the whole tower in real time. It costs around $570 million and it cannot operate for a day without continuous sensing. China's smart livestock market is projected at 47.7 billion yuan by 2026. That is the direction of travel, and nobody should pretend otherwise. Intensification is coming. It will be the default if animal activists don't do anything about it. Okay, this seems like saying the same thing as the person who said intensification is unavoidable. What they're saying, maybe animal activists can do something about it. What's in dispute is whether that trajectory is a fact to accommodate or a variable to fight over. It's a variable, and treating it as a fact is exactly how a prediction becomes an outcome. Okay. I mean, this is currently happening. What has been built? the venture arm. Spring Innovation Fund launched 30th of June 2026, a non-profit venture studio backing for-profit companies expecting to deploy an 8-figure sum in its first year or two. Its own copy, the most durable welfare gains come from solutions the industry actually wants to adopt. Spring acknowledged they probably won't resonate if you think only efforts to end or replace animal agriculture count as progress. That sentence is not a position in the old fight over whether welfare reforms are worth doing at all. It's simpler. Is ending the industry still the goal or not? Okay. I mean, this is a tough one, isn't it? There's parts of that I feel are correct. A great example of this is in ovo egg sexing, where it prevents male chicks from being incubated and born and shredded or gassed. And it just so happens that actually it also is a good thing from the perspective of the egg industry because it reduces their costs. So there definitely can be things which are both good for animals and good for the animal industry. And it makes sense that those solutions, if the industry wants to adopt them, they're more achievable, basically, as opposed to something like cage-free, where, again, we've made pretty good progress, but it's a constant fight against the industry because they want to just go with the cheapest production system, basically. Yeah, and the in ovo egg sexing thing is going to be not necessarily something that contributes to ending or replacing animal agriculture overall, but it does save millions of chicks from being born and then shredded up. So I think it still counts as a win, even if it's not necessarily something that advances the end of the whole system. I do think ending industry is still the ultimate goal, but clearly there are things within, or like incremental goals within that can be worthwhile if they reduce animal suffering. But okay, the capital. Lever VC's $50 million fund has backed 2 livestock monitoring companies, one described on Lever's own site as lowering mortality and disease on farm. Its managing partner is the founder of the Humane League, former EVP of Mercy for Animals, co-founder of the Good Food Institute. This is an outside capital funding investments in animal agriculture. It's movement veterans leading the funding round themselves. Yeah, so mortality and disease, this is another one where there's some coincidence of animal advocates' objectives and animal farms' objectives. And actually, this is what we were reading about in Richard Griffith's LinkedIn post, who's the CEO of the British Poultry Council. And which I've seen a lot of livestock advocates making this point, where they say, Paul Wood said this in our debate, is something like, it doesn't make any sense that the animal industries wouldn't look after the health and welfare of animals because that's our business, and like if the animals are unhealthy, then we lose money. That's kind of true in a narrow sense. It's true on some metrics. Like they don't want too high a proportion of factory farmed chickens to die before they reach slaughter, because they are losing money from that, right? But it's clearly not entirely aligned. And as I said to Richard Griffiths, they also want to have access to the outdoors and to have more space and to not grow so fast that they collapse under their own weight and to live longer than 5 weeks before going to slaughter. But those are the welfare outcomes that the industry couldn't care less about, because it's not profitable for them. So mortality and disease, I guess you could say that in ovo sexing is like reducing mortality in a sense. But these are things where yeah, both animal advocates and the animal industry are going to be supportive of improvements in those areas. Hey, Oppenheimer, how's it going? Presumably think the impacts of reforms on the animals outweigh the effects of making people more comfortable with eating animal products. I'm not certain myself. Seems intuition-based. Yeah, I do think so, Oppenheimer. I don't think that like welfare improvements increase demand for animal products. Or yeah, the chat's a bit. Let me try updating this again. It's basically bringing in the chat from a different stream because I have several streams scheduled. It's bringing in the chat from a different stream. Yeah, so I've just turned it off for now. Not really sure what to do about that. I don't think there's really a way of fixing it, unfortunately. So yeah, we've no chat on screen. But yeah, I don't think that welfare improvements like increase the demand or decrease, like contribute to a lower decrease in demand, you could say. There's a bit of evidence that basically when there's news or announcements about such improvements in welfare standards, if anything, it tends to reduce demand because people are not aware of or are not really thinking about the terrible conditions that exist kind of by default. And so if you make an announcement that's like, hey, we're no longer going to keep our pigs in cages for weeks on end where they can't turn around, the average person is not like, oh, that's an improvement, that's good. The average person is like, hang on a minute, were you keeping pigs in cages for weeks where they can't turn around? Right, so it's the level of awareness makes it... yeah, I don't think that's too much of a concern from my perspective. Okay, so I mean, so far my impression is that there are some areas where the goals of animal advocates, or at least like consequentialist animal advocates, can coincide with the goals of animal farms and even factory farms in a narrow sense. Reducing mortality is one of those. In ovo egg sexing is another example of that. And of course, there are interventions which animal advocates will want, but the factory farms won't want, like cage-free. That's increasing the cost for the factory farms. They don't care about that. They don't want to do it. Alternative proteins, right? It's like competing with the factory farms' demand. They're not going to be supportive of that. There are some where the industry will be supportive, but yeah, the overall shape of this, where philanthropic money is going to go towards these things that the industry might itself be interested in doing and might invest its own money in doing, that doesn't seem that wise. That's probably... That doesn't seem like the play from my perspective. Let's see. The incubator. Ambitious Impact's first incubation round, focused exclusively on animal welfare, states that the charities that are likely to come out of this cohort aren't likely to look like activism or corporate campaigning. They'll be more likely to look like reshaping the incentives that industry responds to, bringing new technology to market. They also say you don't need to be vegan, don't need to be an animal person, don't need an animal movement background, and don't need to feel a strong emotional pull towards animals. Okay, so this used to be called Charity Entrepreneurship, Ambitious Impact, and looks like they are, in on this change in strategy. I mean, again, in theory, I can see that some parts of this could be constructive, but yeah, let's see. I'll want to read the Sandcastles Pro case after I read this as well. The Farm, Innovate Animal Ag, which calls itself the DARPA of animal agriculture, is seeking commercial partners to trial a technology against feed conversion ratio and growth rate. The headline numbers of broiler production economics, not welfare indicators. Frontier Husbandry, described above, is its proving ground, built to run the last 30% of R&D a commercial profit and loss rarely allows. High capital and switching costs are the standard mechanism by which precision tech entrenches and consolidates industrial farming, and a non-profit proving ground pays that adoption risk down with donations. Yes. So it's basically subsidizing what would otherwise be R&D funded by the animal industries and perhaps unaffordable to be funded by the animal industries, right? The intellectual cover, the field's most discussed AI analysis, a shallow review of what transformative AI means for animal welfare, prompted a forum-wide debate week. It marks prevent AI from worsening factory farming with a cross, while marking PLF for good as promising on the same page. What precision livestock farming actually does. PLF is usually defended on the grounds that better measurement means better welfare. Start with what that looks like for one bird. Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm very skeptical, because again, this is not the outcome that the industry is trying to optimize for. If they become like hyper able to measure all of the things that affect a chicken, for example, they're not going to be saying, okay, let's adjust the feed and the temperature and the waste removal and everything else so that the chicken's welfare is maximized. They're going to say, let's adjust all of those things so that profitability is maximized. And in many cases, that's not going to be the same thing. So I can well imagine this enabling higher stocking densities, for example. And that seems like it would be a bad thing. The parents of meat chickens carry the same genetics as their offspring, and those genetics are lethal to an adult. Fed to appetite, broiler breeders have become obese and lame, lay badly, and die at rates reaching 31%. So the industry starves them. Females are held at roughly a quarter to a half of what they would voluntarily eat during rearing. Around 30% of voluntary intake is typical, and restriction can run as deep as 80% below it. At 12 weeks, a bird allowed to eat weighs more than twice what a rationed bird weighs. What that produces is chronic hunger and feeding frustration, stereotypic object pecking, restlessness, elevated stress physiology, and it affects every parent bird of every broiler alive. Some producers then restrict water on top of it because a starving hen drinks to fill herself and the litter burns her feet. Precision feeding is the technological answer to this. The hen wears an RFID tag. She enters a feeding station, is weighed in real time, and an algorithm releases feed only if she's below her target weight trajectory. If two birds enter together, the station ejects them unfed. Every visit is written into a database. In one trial, nearly a third of birds failed to adapt to individual feeding. They were identified because no feeding events had registered against their tags, and some had not eaten in over 24 hours. Yeah, this doesn't sound great. I mean, I do expect this kind of thing from the livestock industries. I do expect that they are going to use whatever technology they have at their disposal to try and be as profitable as possible with respect to rearing animals for food. There are some situations where this could be deployed to improve welfare, but that's not what's going to happen by default. That's like, you know, if you think about like wearable tech and stuff like this, if you have, I've got my little knockoff Whoop band here. Tell me about my activity and my sleep, and I've got smart scales in the other room and everything else. Like I can get a lot of data and operationalize that and use that to try to improve my own welfare, right? But you could well use the exact same data to try and make me gain as much weight as quickly as possible so that you can slaughter me more profitably. So, I mean, they're kind of talking about just like cock-ups of the technology here as well. Like two birds entering together and then it records too high a weight so they don't get fed. But, yeah, there's no guarantee that this would be used for good. And in fact, we're pretty sure that they're going to use it to be more profitable, right? I don't know how much of that you could control if you have the R&D happening in, like, by animal advocates. It's published as a welfare improvement, and the literature is candid about why it's needed. Feed restriction intensity continues to increase due to selection for efficient, fast-growing broilers. Read that as the engineering problem it is. The hen's hunger is the binding constraint on how far growth rate genetics can be pushed. Precision feeding does not relieve the constraint. It administers it individually at higher resolution so that the constraint stops binding and selection can continue. The suffering is not a side effect of the system, it's the variable the system was built to manage. Okay, I'm going to have to read that again. Food restriction intensity continues to increase due to selection for efficient, fast-growing boilers. Okay. The hen's hunger is the binding constraint on how far growth rate genetics can be pushed. So why do they want to ration them? Is it just so that they don't die too soon, basically? Yeah, okay. Become obese and lame, lay badly, and die at rates reaching 31%. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that will happen if you use breeds specifically bred to grow as quickly as possible, but again, that's like a profit maximizing thing. Okay, so the suffering is not a side effect of the system, as a variable system was built to manage. There's also a natural experiment on the measurement means welfare claim already sitting in European law, and it's been running for 19 years. Council Directive 2007/43/EC caps broiler stocking density at 33 kilograms per metre squared. A producer who documents housing conditions and meets specified environmental requirements may go to 39 kilograms per metre squared. A producer who additionally demonstrates low cumulative mortality across successive flocks may go to 42 kilograms per metre squared. This is a staircase, and every step is paid for in measurement. Monitor ammonia, CO2, temperature, humidity, and mortality closely enough, and the law lets you put 27% more birds in the same shed. Meanwhile, EFSA's 2023 opinion finds welfare harm begins above 11 kilograms per metre squared, roughly a third of the baseline the derogations build upward from. Yeah. I mean, this is like kind of constructed in that the law is that you're allowed to go higher if you measure certain things. But I think in an unregulated system, measuring these things is just going to enable you to go higher as a matter of like engineering the whole farm, the whole system. There's this kind of area where improving profitability and efficiency can in some cases be the same as improving welfare, but there's not at all a guarantee. Like mortality is the main one. You don't want to have too high a mortality rate, either from a welfare perspective or from a commercial perspective. So that's an area where we can agree and say, okay, if there's interventions that reduce mortality, all else being equal, that's a good thing. But yeah. This is the mechanism already codified before AI enters the picture at all. Sensing capacity is not banked as welfare improvement, it's spent as stocking density. Technology didn't fail, it worked exactly as designed, and the gains were converted into cramming more animals into less space. Nor is this an artifact of European law. A computer vision system for shrimp developed by the Alfred Wegener Institute and with the producer Ocean Loop was described by its users as letting them more precisely determine the density for each size group, improving survival, growth, and feed efficiency in the same breath. Yeah, so it's about increasing stocking density again in this case, which, yeah, I mean, that's going to be something that's generally good from a commercial perspective, generally bad from a welfare perspective. So that's going to be, they're in conflict, they're in tension. Automated shrimp counters are now sold to farms pushing the boundaries of very intensive production on the argument that AI needs precise stocking density data to work from, where super intensive means upwards of 150 shrimp per square metre. Better measurement spent as density stated in plain commercial English. No hate, but some of this feels a little bit AI written. I don't mind that, but just saying. I guess I mind it mildly. I also could be wrong about that. I just like this sentence in particular. I'm like, that sounds like Claude. I might be cooked though. Who knows? The peer-reviewed literature says the same thing prospectively, and the most systematic statement of it is a 2022 review in Frontiers in Veterinary Science by Teutons, Moleno and Benaisa. 12 threats of precision livestock farming for animal welfare. The authors are welfare scientists at agricultural research institutions, and the paper is a taxonomy. 12 ways the technology can damage the animals it is sold to help, grouped into direct harm, harm through the farmer, harm through changes to housing and management, and harm to the moral status of animals in society. 3 of its findings bear directly on the case for BLF for good. On evidence, the welfare claims made for PLF remain largely unproven because the systems that actually reach the market and get adopted are the ones that improve production efficiency and labour costs. Validation is thin even where it exists. External validation trials are available for roughly 14% of retained PLF systems for dairy cow welfare assessment, and only around 23% of published PLF works in pigs was properly validated. The authors also name the competitive trap. The testing regime that would make these systems safe for animals raises their cost, so manufacturers who skip it gain an edge. Okay. Well, this is definitely not what we would hope for. On housing, many PLF systems have to separate animals from their background, which works better when the background is uniform, so the technology pushes towards barren, sterile environments. Economies of scale push the same way. Per animal costs fall as herds grow. Herd size is a leading determinant of whether PLF gets adopted at all, and mortality and infectious disease generally rise with herd size. The small-scale outdoor systems associated with better welfare are precisely where this technology is least viable. I mean, yeah, that probably is the case, right? Herd size is a leading determinant of whether PLF gets adopted at all. Yeah, I mean, they're talking about factory farming and improving factory farming, so it's not going to be... It seems like it would be less needed in the smaller, higher welfare systems in any case, so I don't think that's necessarily a criticism. On the loop, the paper diagrams the mechanism as 2 self-reinforcing cycles. Let me check the time quick. Okay, we're going to go to Ximena in about 15 mins. I don't think we'll have time to finish reading this now, but perhaps I'll finish it afterwards. The paper diagram's mechanism is 2 self-reinforcing cycles. In the first, PLF makes intensification more viable. Intensification hides more animals from public view and makes them easier to treat as units of production. And that reduced concern clears the way for further intensification, which expands the market for PLF. Intensification hides more animals from public view and makes them easier to treat as units of production. Yeah. That reduced concern clears the way for further intensification. I mean, I guess this is kind of true of factory farming in general. I'm not that clear on that, to be honest. The second runs through price. PLF raises efficiency. Efficiency makes animal products cheaper. Cheaper products raise consumption, and higher consumption further lowers the moral status of the animals. Okay. Well, the authors say objectification buys the industry is the social license to exploit even more animals in a more extreme way. I mean, yeah, for me, I'm like... Is there really a lack of social license to do whatever the industry wants to animals currently? Is there something that is being lost. Like the extent to which most people do not prioritize animal welfare. I'm not convinced, I guess, that like if we add AI to the mix, anything gets worse than it is currently with respect to public attitudes. We've had like torture factories for decades, and most people behave as if they don't care. Most people do care when you ask them about it, and on reflection, but I don't think that... this is another point that goes to this thing about would demand go down if welfare improves, or would demand go up if welfare improves. If that were the case, we should think about making the welfare of animals even worse. Because following that logic, it would be like, well, if the welfare gets worse, then people will be more concerned about it and they'll be less likely to... Like, I don't think so. I think they're just like being tortured as much as is profitable. If it was more profitable to torture them more, they would do that. And like, I don't think that that would be the straw that broke the camel's back in someone saying, oh, now they're torturing them this amount rather than that much, I'm going to stop consuming animals. Like, I don't think that's really how it works. That is a durability diagram drawn by veterinary welfare scientists, published 4 years before this movement decided to fund the thing at the centre of it. The most useful citation... I'd like to see that diagram. The most useful citation from the other side of the debate. Marion Dawkins is a proponent of smart farming, and she still warns that efficiency gains will lead to deterioration in animal welfare through promotion of more intensive farming. When advocates and skeptics converge on the same prediction, the burden shifts to whoever claims this time will be different. Nobody funding PLF for Good has explained why this time will be different. Yeah, Oppenheimer, that's a lot of people do be doing that. Everyone thinks that they're having the high welfare stuff, and it's only everyone else that's eating the factory farm products, right? The evidence that trajectories bend. The claim that technology adoption is unstoppable is testable, and it has been tested. It fails. The useful part is not that it fails, but how. Because the people who bent these curves were doing identifiable things, and almost none of them are being done here. In 1998, a small Canadian outfit called Raffi found a patent held by Delta and Pineland, and the USDA covering seed engineered to be sterile at harvest. Oh, okay. My bad. All right. That's what the patent was covering. I got you. The technical name was genetic use restriction technology. Raffi called it Terminator. 18 months later, Monsanto announced it would not commercialize the technology, citing the views of its own grower constituency. Raffi's research director said plainly that what moved the company was not morality, but the certainty that the product would never win public acceptance. No regulator stopped Terminator. The developer did preemptively on a product that did not exist. Then the campaign made it stick. The Convention on Biological Diversity adopted a de facto moratorium in 2000 and reaffirmed and strengthened in 2006 a push from Canada, Australia and New Zealand. Against a push, 28 years on, a technology whose economics its owner found compelling has never been sold. Seed engineered to be sterile at harvest. Okay. So this is an example of how activists basically did head off technological, something that would have been profitable, but they convinced the producers that the public wouldn't find it to be acceptable, and produced the public to not find it acceptable. I mean, again, we have kind of been trying to do that with factory farming. I'm surprised that this worked, I have to say. I do feel that, yeah, all right, fair enough. Well, that's, maybe I should adjust some of my priors there. like the case that they're going to make is like, could we have some sort of public campaign that makes precision livestock farming so unacceptable to the public that people who would otherwise profit from it say, oh no, we can't possibly do that because people won't buy it. I just would have thought that that would happen with factory farming. I'm surprised that it worked in the case of that Monsanto seed. 4 moves in one case. Give the thing a name a non-specialist can hate. Press the developer rather than the farmer. Turn the developer's customers from a shield into a liability. And write the win into an instrument that outlasts the news cycle. PLF has none of them. It has an industry acronym, a set of vendors nobody outside the sector could name, and a movement funding it rather than campaigning against it. GM crops in Europe are usually told as a story about consumer fear. The more useful account is Sherman and Monroe's. European food retail was concentrated and built on own brand quality positioning, which gave it a choke point the American commodity chain lacked. Activists did not have to beat the biotech industry, they had to beat the supermarkets, who beat the biotech industry for them. Iceland went GM-free in 1998. The sector followed within months once the position proved it sold. And when Unilever committed in April 1999, nearly every major food company followed inside a week. Only then did the political layer move, ending in Directive EU 2015-412, and the opt-outs most member states took. Okay, yeah. I mean, I think this was probably a bad thing. I think that like having GM things would be good, but it's an example of how activists can basically stop some profitable technology from being adopted. Sometimes the producers ask for the ban themselves. Sweden prohibited antibiotic growth promoters in 1986 when they were in practically all Swedish pig and broiler feed. The Federation of Swedish Farmers had issued a voluntary restrictive use policy in 1981 and then requested legislation because the public argument was already lost, and a universal ban protected farmers from each other. That is the structure PLF has. Its returns are relative advantage returns. A producer who installs it gains on a producer who does not. So once the technology becomes a reputational cost, prohibition is the industry's preferred outcome rather than its nightmare. Sweden then lobbied the same rule upward into the EU-wide ban. Interesting, okay. I mean, that's kind of what's happening with cage-free to some extent, where some producers who have already adopted it or some retailers who have already adopted it will be campaigning for that to be the legal baseline. But again, it's coming from a sense that the public argument's already been lost. This is why I put so much... Well, this is not why, but there's another argument for putting a lot of stock in actually public opinion and public communication campaigns. Again, not to hammer on it, but like Project Slingshot, I think there are all kinds of advantages that come from the public being opposed to factory farming. And maybe if there was a bit more of that around, this kind of initiative would not be even discussed. Coalitions do not require agreement. At will in 1975, conservative wine growers occupied a nuclear construction site because they feared cooling tower steam would shade their vines. Students, clergy and the local hunting association joined them. 30,000 people reoccupied the site after police cleared it, and a court withdrew the licence that March. The plant was never built. Nobody there needed to share an ideology, they needed to share a target. None of these technologies was abolished globally, and the argument does not need them to have been. Comparable economics facing comparable industry pressure reached opposite outcomes. The EU hormone beef ban held, though a WTO dispute and years of retaliatory sanctions, through a WTO report and years of retaliatory sanctions, RBST, approved in the US in 1993, was permanently prohibited in the EU and declined by Canada, Australia, New Zealand and Japan, and then lost its American market anyway without a ban when the processors and retailers walked and Monsanto sold the business off in 2008. If outcomes were determined by a technology's economics, they would not diverge, but they do diverge. 3 things separate the wins. They arrived while the technology was still a proposal rather than an installed base. Okay, fair enough. So that's kind of counter my like, why doesn't this happen with factory farming hypothesis. They press the developer, not the user. Farmers are immobile, multi-generational and sympathetic, while the firms building this software are small, young, dependent on a handful of investors, and staffed by people who did not take the job in order to make sheds denser. And they converted the win into something durable, a treaty, a directive, a court holding. When Google workers forced the company off Project Maven in 2018, the win went into a corporate values page, and Google deleted the pledge 7 years later. Terminator went into a treaty and has held for 28. The strongest case for the other side. Okay, here we go. This is why I feel I'm missing so far. 1. Welfare work inside the system has produced the movement's largest measurable wins. Cage-free campaigns took 15 years and improved condition for hundreds of millions of hens. Refusing to work inside the system on purity grounds would have forfeited that. Yep, strongly agree with that. 2. If intensification is coming regardless, presence beats absence. Better the technology is shaped by people who care about the animals than by people who don't. Yeah, of course that's a big if, but I mean, I think this probably is the case. 3. This movement has never once stopped production technology in animal agriculture. Battery cages, gestation crates, fast-growing genetics, live shackle slaughter, all adopted over advocacy objections. The historical base rate for "we will bend this curve" is poor. To the first, corporate campaigns work by raising the cost of a practice. That is the opposite operation to PLF for good, which lowers the cost of production. Both get filed under welfare work, and that shared label is doing enormous unearned work. The durability test separates them cleanly, which is exactly why it's worth adopting. Cage-free imposed at a cost the industry had to absorb. A subsidised R&D pipeline removes one. To the second, you cannot credibly threaten an industry whose capital expenditure you are underwriting, and an organisation whose revenue model depends on selling to producers has a permanent structural reason not to campaign against them. That is not a prediction about anyone's character. It's a description of what happens to organisations under that incentive reliably over a decade. To the third, and this is the important one, the base rate is poor because in every previous case the movement arrived after the adoption curve, with no capital and no technical capacity. Battery cages were universal before there was a movement capable of contesting them. This is the first production technology in the history of animal agriculture that the movement has encountered before mass adoption, while holding both money and technical capability. Oh, we're so near the end. All right, let's storm through this last part before I jump on with Ximena. The choice. I've been working towards animal liberation for 18 years. I've made every mistake this movement offers, burned out and come back. I founded Open Pause, which was defunded, and I was removed from it. That gives me reasons to read the funding layer of this movement uncharitably, and a reader should weigh that. It's also why I'm asking you to check the documents rather than trust me. Every claim above is sourced to something the institutions in question publish themselves. Pardon me. For many of those years, I shared the pessimism that leads so many others in our movement to abandon our ultimate goal of animal liberation. I never personally abandoned that goal, but I did believe for a long time that I would never see it achieved within my lifetime. Then we were handed a gift that completely changed the equation, something that could enable a small team of advocates or even a solo operator to run at the scale of a large organisation and soon maybe even at the scale of an entire movement. That gift was, of course, AI. I spent the last 4 years building and applying AI to the fight for animal liberation, and I've seen firsthand how transformative it's been to the advocates who use it to fight against the industries that exploit animals. The turn described in this essay makes that same capability and points the other way. Not AI systems built for animal advocates, but animal advocates building AI systems for the industries we exist to oppose. This is not unavoidable. Technology trajectories aren't laws of physics. They're the product of investment decisions and the work of people who showed up early enough to matter. Shrimp Welfare Project was right. This is factory farming 2.0, and we're at the beginning of it. After a few paragraphs below unavoidable in that same interview, Boddy names the reasons that matter, that it will be very difficult to change course once certain paths are locked in. He's right about that too. It's the entire argument for acting now rather than adapting later, and is sitting on the same page as the defeatist resignation. The beginning is the only part where the trajectory is cheap to change. We are about to receive more money than this movement has ever had. What we build with it will encode our answer, whether or not anyone says it out loud. So say it out loud. The central institutions that control this movement's money have made their choice in public with funding attached. It's time the rest of us made ours. Are we trying to end factory farming or are we trying to optimize it? Everything else follows from the answer. Well, there you go. I am going to give some more thoughts on that and read Sandcastle's blog arguing the opposite side. But now I'm going to bring you Ximena Rodriguez. Let me make sure that the audio is working here. And hopefully someone in chat is going to flag if the audio is not working. I promise I'll look at the chat this time so that I can be aware of that rather than being ignorant as I was last time. Here we go. Hi, Ximena, how are you doing?
Hi, great, Chris. How about you? Great to see you.
Yes, very well, thanks. Nice to see you too. I appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to me on stream about this. Oh, I can see one more guest waiting. Oh, that's my Fathom. That's my Fathom note taker.
Oh,
Let's get rid of that. Good stuff. Yeah, good. How are you doing?
great. Thank you so much for having me here. It's great to see you again. And yeah, I'm great. How about you? How was the weekend and everything?
Pretty good. I've been working on some interesting stuff this week, and I was just reading about the factory farming 2.0. I don't know if you've seen anything about that. There's a good Substack post about basically strategies of how we might invest money coming into the animal movement, which are very contentious.
Oh my God, no, I have not heard about that. That's really cool. Well, interesting.
Yeah. It's going to be grounds for lots of debate, I can tell, and I'm connected with people who take each side of it. So I might try and organize that at some point.
Yeah, I can totally see how there's going to be a lot of debates around that, probably. But yeah, that sounds really interesting. No, I have not seen the post on Substack. I should check it out.
Yeah, I'll have to send that to you afterwards. But yeah, thanks so much for joining. And do you want to give a bit of background about vegan hacktivists and your position and everything else before we get into talking about Flockwork? I'd love to have a bit of a demo of the platform. And I think that people are going to be really interested in this as well. So, yeah.
Sure. I've came prepared for that. But yeah, I actually am fairly new to vegan hacktivists. I'm proud. I'm one of the newest team members, so I'm really proud to be able to say that now. I've been there for about 4 months now. It's great. We were able to be together in person, and I got to meet a lot of my coworkers, and the team is just like such an amazing team, and we just do amazing stuff. But I am the Flockwork lead and community manager, so I am the Flockwork person, you could say, I guess. So I don't know if I should just say what Flockwork is, just to have it out there and like to be really clear. We're pretty much Flockwork is a platform where we connect organizations with volunteers, and that's it. We just pretty much help figure that out, and like we do the vetting, we do all the matching for both sides, and we just like connect them. So it's like such an easy way for both parties to be able to get involved, whether there's an org wanting to fill a volunteer position, or whether you want to do anything for the movement, like your skills and everything. You can just go there and we handle everything. It's just like the easiest way possible, and we just want to give that to the movement, just that easy going feeling, because it shouldn't be that difficult, you know. Because even when I started, it was like I wish I had Flockwork when I started, because I started as a volunteer. without like any like a formal position, you know. It's just like I wanted to do something, and I had to like dig, and because I was just like a vegan, not like an actual active member of the animal rights like well community and movement, I didn't really have any connections. So it's like also kind of difficult because you don't really know anything, right? Or anyone. So you're just like like square one, you know, like okay, where do I go? So I think this makes everything so much easier, specifically for like yeah, both orcs and people, but mostly just people who want to volunteer their skills, their time, and anything for the animals.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I'm really keen on this because I have long thought that there are so many people who really care a lot and want to spend their spare time helping animals as much as they can. And somehow, a lot of the parts of the movement are not that good at using volunteer time. And I can feel myself kind of being in that category as well. We sometimes have people reach out and say, "Oh, I'd like to come do volunteering." And just the shape of our projects, it makes it quite difficult to accommodate that, really. But there definitely are some kinds of projects where actually, you know, a few hours of somebody with the right skills can be super helpful. So there's all this kind of like mass of unused labor, basically. People are willing to give away
Mm,
their time and do work on animal related topics, and they just need matching
exactly.
with the right opportunities, right?
Exactly. Yeah, because I feel like I had that a lot. I feel like I talk about this with some of my followers on my own platform, where it's like people just hear activism and they just picture someone with their sign on the street, you know, and it's like that's yeah, that's for sure activism, obviously, but it's just not the only way to do it. Like there's so many other ways that people don't even consider to be activism. Like I don't know, even like social media, it's also an amazing way to do activism, and like there's just like so many ways that we don't even consider to be like, because you're like, oh, am I actually doing something, and you are. And so I feel like giving your skills and time to the movement is such an amazing way to do activism, because it is activism at the end of the day, and you are working towards the same goal and helping nonprofits in this case to achieve that same goal that you are also uh, working towards and like believe in, you know. So I feel like it's definitely something that people don't really consider, and that's what we want to facilitate, just that same pathway where it's like, here's everything, you just need to sign up. It's all, obviously I need to say, like it's all free. You just sign up, create an account, whether you're looking for help or you want to give, well, offer help as a volunteer, and then you will see all our live opportunities. I can definitely show you, like we said, maybe I could just show you the panel and
Yeah,
a little
please
bit
do.
of like the sign up and everything.
Yeah,
If
yeah, please. If you
that's
want to screen share and go ahead, I'll just say, like, I think it's a super cool
mm,
concept because I totally agree with your point about like or like the average person's idea of what activism looks like. It is like street activism or protests and marches, things like this, which are very high like effort and time commitment, and who knows how effective they are one way or another, right? It could be that that's very effective and converts a lot of people, but especially if you're someone who has kind of specialist professional skills, there's probably something more valuable that you could be offering. If you're someone who is like a qualified accountant, for example, I'm sure there's
mhm.
going to be a bunch of animal organizations that need some accountancy work doing, and that would be a more valuable use of your time than having a qualified accountant go out and hold placards, right? Not to no, you know, not to diminish the placard holders, but I think
Yeah,
expanding that conception of what activism can be is super valuable, and some of the most valuable work is going to be, yeah, not what people traditionally think of as being animal activism.
exactly. And I think we were also talking about that same issue where it's like just having this tiny scope. But like yeah, that's also an issue. For example, there's people who are not really outgoing. Like I wouldn't even consider myself like an like an extrovert, you know, and you don't have to be like doing like cubes of truth out there and like talking to people and like tabling. That's an amazing way to do activism, right? But like not everyone wants to like talk to people, or not everyone feels like that is like something they would like to do. And it's like, okay, no, I'm never doing activism, you know? And there's always so many ways to do it. And exactly, for example, if you're a developer and then you just don't want to leave your house, this is literally the thing for you, you know? Where it's like, okay, I want to do something, but I don't feel like leaving my house. Because that's also another thing. We're completely remote. Um, we like all of the opportunities are just like global, but we are also completely remote. So you can help from anywhere where you are and anywhere in the world. Like we have really cool opportunities, whether it's like you're in, I don't know, based in the US, and like there's people, I don't know, helping at a tiger sanctuary in Vietnam, you know, and you don't have to like leave your house, and you can still contribute to amazing projects that people have. And it's like or organizations, because sometimes we also have really cool and big and recognizable, I guess, organizations. So I think that's also really cool because it gives, well, people the opportunity to work with really renowned organizations. So I think that's also a really cool opportunity. That again, because I started as a volunteer, and I have, that's pretty much what I want to convey to people, that I'm like, this is a pathway that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. Like this is an amazing way to get involved. And even just talking about like connections, you know, like because I also have like followers asking me like, oh, how do I get friends in the movement? And obviously this is not like, oh, volunteer and you're gonna get friends. Obviously I wish it were that easy, so I cannot promise you like, oh, okay, volunteer and like have friends, not at all. But maybe with some luck you can like, yeah, get friends. I'm not saying like, oh, volunteer with Flockwork and you will get friends. Sadly, I cannot promise that. However, it makes it everything just easier because you're surrounded by the right people and surrounded even online again. But it just creates this really cool like network, and that's also what we want to give the volunteers, like this sense of community. Because again, I started as one, so I totally believe that in this project, and I'm like, I wish I had something like this, because again, I need to dig like into the depths of like the vegan movement and find like, okay, where do I like find this? And again, I didn't have anyone to tell me like, okay, go on this website, you know. So this is pretty much it. I'm like telling people, okay, here's the website, here's where you can, that's literally, I'm like, I wish I could go back like a couple of years and be like, here, Ximena, take this.
Yeah.
that
You're
would
making
that
a
would be,
resource that you wish you had had.
yeah. And yeah, VH had it, like Vegan Activists had it, and I'm like, this is such an amazing project. And I landed here like just because I kept showing up and because I kept volunteering. And again, we cannot, obviously we cannot promise you like, oh yeah, like have this like, yeah, volunteer role, and then like in 10 years you will have this position in the movement. Obviously not, because no one really knows anything, right? But and we do not promise anything like that, but we promise that you will find your place in the movement, because it's what it is. Like you will find your right, like your path, and you can try it, and maybe it's not your thing, but there's also different types of projects. We have ongoing stuff, because it also depends on whatever the organization is looking for. So there's more like ongoing projects. There's just like some that do have a stipend sometimes, and they're like, okay, we just need this little task done, and this is a paid like role. Sometimes we do have some with a stipend. It does depend on the roles. And yeah, and maybe you are the kind of person who does like short tasks, and you keep volunteering applying. That's also another. Or like just like, yeah, coming back and doing like little tasks, or an ongoing long task. Like it just depends on whatever people like, and I feel like it's worth a shot, honestly, because I feel like that's the beauty of it. I think it's just like keep showing up and just making it as easy as possible for in order for people to keep showing up, which is pretty much how I did it. And I just really believe in just volunteering, because it just gives you the right, at least in my situation, it just gave me the right path, you know. And it's just an amazing way to help now I'm doing like it's my career now, but I feel like a lot of people just don't are not really aware of the amazing opportunities, and even just volunteering. And I keep being a volunteer with other organizations, anyways. So it's just like I just love volunteering. Like I wish I could the whole time.
Yeah,
It's great.
that's awesome. And it's so cool to have a platform that enables people to use their skills effectively in different things. Because one thing that I always do on the live stream is the Fast Action Network, which is basically a feed that allows you to post on social media and email people at companies and do their contact forms and stuff like this. And it's trying to encourage companies to go towards cage-free, but it's as if you're contacting them as a consumer, and then it's just about posting on their social media, emailing decision makers and stuff like this. And I think that's a really good thing to do, but it's very like basic, really. Like anybody could do it. It's cool that there's a platform that makes it very easy to do, and it is quite effective. But I do have a sense that there's going to be people in my audience, certainly, who do have skills as a developer or artists or whatever it may be, who would love the opportunity to actually deploy their particular skills and their particular specialty in the service of helping animals. But it's so not straightforward to be able to find those opportunities necessarily. So I think it's a really cool platform that enables people to take part in, like I said, you had me at not leaving your house, right? that's a big thing.
Yeah,
And then
it's just amazing.
and also
Yeah.
to use their particular skills as well, because it's a bit more specific than just something like Fast Action Network, which we do, which again, anyone with a computer could do it. But yeah,
Exactly.
I'd love to see a bit of the platform
Oh
if you
yeah.
want to show
Yes,
us.
for
Yeah,
sure. Yes, sorry, I was in the middle of that, and then I got to yapping and I forgot.
no worries.
So I will just share my screen. Can you see it? Can you?
I don't see it yet.
Okay, wait. No, sorry. Now, do you?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So this is a homepage of Flockwork. This is pretty much you just like flockwork.org, and this is it. This is how you'll see it. Then the easiest way to do it is like scrolling. So whether you want to request help or offer help. So normally we would do offer help, right? So you can just click on browse opportunities. And you don't necessarily have to like sign up at the beginning, I believe. But here, sorry, I don't know what that didn't load, but this is the one. I had it ready anyways. So these are the available opportunities that we have, for example. And again, I haven't even sign up or logged in or anything. You can just really like scroll through all of our live listings at the moment, so you don't even have to create an account to see. Obviously, if you want to apply to one that looks like it could be something you want to do, then you need to. But even if you're just like curious about, okay, what is there, you can just always come here and look at our live ones. So for example, you will see that there's this little tags. This one would be a paid one and like a stipend, and you can just go in if you're like interested in the title. It's like, okay, for example, this is design and multimedia. We also have like different colors for different categories.
Nice.
We have about 8. And this is, for example, one of our live listings right now. So you just go in and you can see more about it. For example, specific area, estimated time, commitment, time zone, and description of the role and what the needs are. And it's just the whole description, right? And also about the specific organization who's posting this and like where they operate and like the type of organization, their mission, or even if you want to go to their website, then you can do that freely. And then you would like need to apply. And to apply, you just need to create your application. And this is pretty much what it does. So it's first create application, then account, and then about you. Because again, I'm not really signed up right now, so it's still like you would need to like sign up but this is as if you were from square one, right? It's such an easy way to do it too. You just like fill out these questions where it's like, okay, why do you want to apply for this project? Like, what would make you fit this role? Why are you interested in volunteering for this project? And anything else you'd like to share. I can't really go past until I like do this, but then I can also show you the way to do it from this button. You just like say sign up, and it will ask you whether you want to submit a request or apply to volunteer. So we can just like do apply to volunteer. And oh god, sorry, I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi. Hmm.
Oh,
Well,
no
also you
voice on
can
the
log
demo.
in with. Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, every time, like just right on the spot, right? But also, like, I mean, you can log in also with either Google or your email address if needed. I don't know why it's not doing it right now. It's probably because I normally have the admin dashboard. Maybe I'm thinking about that.
Yeah, you're trying not to pull up your admin view of this as well, right?
So I guess that's because. But anyways, that's pretty much. It's like such an easy way to do it. Anyways, the sign up is literally just like filling your information. It's just creating a profile, and it's like 2 pages of just your information. Are you vegan? Yes, no. Because that's also another thing. You don't necessarily need to be a vegan in order to be able to volunteer through Flockwork. We have a lot of like non-vegans who are also volunteering because they just want to help the movement regardless of whether
Nice.
they're vegan or not. Yeah, so we have a lot of that too. Um, we also have this like how it works section where you can find like our process, FAQs, the screen and everything. I think it just I also love our like it's just such a pretty interface and design that our team made too, and I love it. Look at the cute animals. It's just I love it actually. Not I'm not biased at all, but I
Yeah, that is
do.
a cool
Then
design. I do like
also
that.
yeah, so it's like, I mean, this is like, I guess, boring stuff, but like how it works. And also, I guess, if you're interested, like this is pretty much the last section where it's like our impact. Because also, yes, sorry, I
Wow.
totally skipped that part. Before we used to be called Playground, because VH had, well, we used to have this Playground platform, but now we rebranded, and now we're Fuckwork. And yeah, we've this these are our numbers also since launching from 2021, and they keep growing, so it's nice. It's nice. And this is like hours contributed, projects completed, and estimate of money that we've saved. So that's nice. This is our whole team. There's me in a gigantic picture, and also if you want to send questions or anything like that, we're always willing to hear. Um, Also, there's like this little like thing where it's like email and message, so we're always just like willing to listen to any questions or anything like that. Please go ahead and like you can also do that through here. And we also have a Discord. And I think that's honestly one of the easiest ways. I think that's about it. Do you, is that, do you,
Nice.
do you see my, the screen or not anymore? Is that
Y-
okay now?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You closed
Is it done?
sharing. No,
Okay.
that's good. That's
Okay,
good.
okay. I'm like, is that okay? Okay, yeah, I was like, damn, I still there. Yeah, so I think those are the main things. I don't know why I didn't like I think probably because of the admin thing. But other than that, you saw the whole thing basically, which is like just create an account. It's fairly easy. Like the interface, like is really, really, really just natural, and you just organic, and you just know what to do. So it's like creating any account, and it's free. And even like before creating an account, like I said, you can just like scroll through our listings to see what is there. But again, the Discord, we have a Discord channel, and if you join the Discord and subscribe to a specific, let's say you're a dev, you can go to the devs channel and have notifications there. So every time there's like something from that category, you will get the notifications and the opportunities to your device, because we always post it through, like, well, new positions or new opportunities, because we always post it also over our Discord. So that's also another way to do it, just joining our Discord. And talking about the community feeling, because again, I love volunteers and I love people who are willing to just volunteer, right? And again, I'm like one of those people. So we really want to be there for the volunteers and give back as much as we can. So we are starting this community call, like a monthly community call next month, which will be September. So also,
Nice.
if you sign up, you will get the invite for that. Anyone who signs up to be a volunteer will get the invitation. And we're really excited about that, because we just want to hear, and it's like a really cool community because everyone is in, well, many places. We're in different continents, and everyone is just like willing to volunteer for the animals and the movement. And I think it's gonna be great. And we want to try that because again, we're just like, we want them to, like, yeah, we want people to feel like heard, because it's true, and we're like a community, and we want that feeling. And yeah, we're just like really also like grateful, and like we really value and appreciate people who will choose Flockwork, and also organizations, obviously, but obviously, yeah, mostly volunteers who want to just give their skills and their time and their passion through Flockwork. So yeah, so also the community calls for sure. I think if someone is interested, they could be worth a shot next month. So just signing up, and you will get the information later on.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's so cool. And so, yeah, I mean, one thing I like about this, I'm very much into effective altruism, and one of the big things that people can do in the effective altruists worldview is donating. And some people do, do this to the maximum and say they're earning to give, right? So people will take high-paying jobs with the explicit intention of donating a lot of their income to animal charities, for example. And I think that is a very cool thing to do, and I admire people do it. I spoke to one guy on the channel who does that. He works in some management consultancy and gets paid a lot and gives, he's given 6 figures to animal charities. And some people find that to be, it's very obvious how that's valuable, but at the same time it is, or could be, quite detached, and not you don't necessarily feel as if you're doing that much, where the volunteering, you're really involved in doing the work, you're more directly doing it. So it's kind of it's maybe a nice compliment if somebody is working in an unrelated field and wishes they could do more for animals and doesn't feel that sense of connection by just donating. Volunteering is a really good way to get that, I think. And as you said as well, it can be the first step to transitioning into a career in the animal movement. I think it totally makes sense from the organization's perspective. When you employ someone, it's always a bit of a gamble. You don't know what they're going to be like. But if you've worked with someone as a volunteer, you have that familiarity. Okay, yeah, we know this person is good. And so I think from the organization's perspective, it totally makes sense. But yeah, volunteering as a community activity and a way of feeling connected to the movement, I think, is a really, really valuable part of this as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, there's probably this, like, yeah, the sense of disconnection if someone is not working, for example, in the nonprofit world, talking about just the animal rights movement. But yeah, definitely, that's also another thing. Like, you don't have to, because I know some of my colleagues from like different programs that I've done. For example, like New Roots Institute, I was like a part of their academic year fellowship at some point. And some of those people are like so passionate about their work and everything, but like no one, um, well, like a lot of people didn't really want to pursue a nonprofit career, and that's also valid. Like they just want to do unrelated stuff, but still being able to work and like, or yeah, like you said, donate and everything. But this is exactly something that that's pretty much what I think just a couple days ago, that's what I was, I think I posted a video on YouTube talking about that for my community. I was just like saying, you can just, instead of doom scrolling for like 3 hours, you can cut that in half, and like instead of like doom scrolling for like 3 hours, you can doom scroll for 1.5 hours, and then the rest you can volunteer or something. So I feel like that's amazing, because again, you can go to do your dev work, or like if it's remote or whatever, you just do your day job. It's like Batman, like you do your day job, or like Superman, you go do your normal day job, and then you come back, and like maybe again, instead of doom scrolling, or after doom scrolling, or before, whatever,
Yeah.
then you can just be like, okay, I'm doing this for this organization, just a couple of hours a week, and that's it. And you don't have to. But exactly, I feel like it definitely would help to get that sense back of like you're actually doing something. And again, not to diminish at all like people who don't even like, yeah, who might not even have the time or don't even want to, because that's also valid. Like if you don't even want to, then it's fine. But like if people do want to, then this is the way to do it, and this is like the easiest way, where it's like, okay, you want to, we want it again, we would just want to make it as easy as possible for both parties to be like, okay, this is it, and here's the opportunities, here's how you can help, and that's it. And that's pretty much what we want Flockwork to turn into, just a place where both organizations and people go and like and volunteer through, because it's really valuable, and volunteers are pretty much one of the main pillars of the whole movement. So for us, it's like really important to be able to have this support. And again, also another really important thing that I think is amazing, at the end of every job that they do, in every role, we do give a little recognition badge for the volunteers. And I feel like that's like such a good, like, yeah, we just, again, like we love our volunteers and like people who volunteer through Flockwork, and we want to be able to recognize that, and them being able to add it to their resume and everything, because it is time and it is their skills, so we also give, at the end, we have like a series of emails, and we are always like walking with them through the whole process while in the timeline of the project. So at the end, when it's actually completed, then we just like send it over the completion and everything. So it's like a little badge, and it's like something for the volunteer to be able to recognize, well, get recognized by the job that they did, because it is a job at the end of the day, and it's their skills, So yeah, we also are implementing that in the really, really near future too. So yeah, excited about that too.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. And I think those kind of things count for a lot. On the Fast Action Network, they have points for doing actions. And then on my stream, we're always like competing on the Fast Action Network points. It's like, how much have you been doing your digital activism? I think that kind of stuff counts for a lot. I'm going to share, I'm going to just screen share the website one more time so we can have a little look through it together. Oh, that's not what I wanted to happen. Bring the call back here.
All right, yeah.
Good. All right, nice.
Be my guest.
Yeah,
be my guest.
Yeah. Just want to have a little browse through here, because you're mentioning it used to be called Playground, right? Vegan Hacktivist Playground. And as I recall,
yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but my sense when I looked at Playground was that it was a bit more geared towards like technical people, programmers, web developers, and stuff like that to be volunteering, whereas this has a broader range of, you've got fundraising things, design.
I think we definitely, yes, we have a broader scope for skills. So yeah, now we have like design, we have like communications. Before I think, yeah, it used to be a little bit more technical, like devs and stuff. But yeah, we've come to broaden the scope a little bit more. So yeah, that's also, I think we have around like, 8 categories, and you can also like filter through the categories.
Nice,
if you are like a comms person, like
so
web
there you go. There's web
development.
development IT. That was the original sort of focus. Then you've got design and multimedia. This is like a totally different set of skills, and people will be some people are really, really good at this. Some people, I'm terrible at this kind of thing. But some people love doing design and, graphic design, or like, I think I saw a video editing. Oh, yeah, this is video editing, right? 4K trailer
Yeah,
editor.
video editing. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Communications and marketing. So this, what have we got here? Messaging and case support specialist.
Yeah, like
Social
and
media
then again,
presence.
like you could
Nice.
be working with someone like in Vietnam, and also we have like little tags where like it shows you the newish ones, and it's like, oh, this one is new. Because yeah, we get pretty much every day, like we get applications every day, and we get opportunities every day too, and like we're actively vetting and doing all the matching and everything.
Yeah, that's
So
so
yeah,
cool. Yeah, this one's new. This is posted 17 hours ago, running the social
yeah,
media for a compassionate world. That's a really cool, and that's like something that somebody who wanted to do more activism might think to do. Oh, I'll start posting on social media. In many cases, you
yeah.
might be better off doing that in a context where there's already a bit of infrastructure and an organization that has stuff to post, and you're, running the social media side of it. So I can definitely see how this would amplify the impact for somebody who's like looking to do that kind of thing anyway. I see
Yeah,
some of these.
and again, if there isn't something from your own like skill set, I think the easiest way to be on the loop is again the Discord channel, because then you just join and you can just choose which is your skill set, and you will get pinged for any well opportunities that are inside that skill set in the very near future, because we always like keep changing them and like keep getting more and more, and we'll hopefully still get more and more each day. So yeah, so the Discord channel, if you cannot find one right now, for example, then the best way to stay there, it's just like, well, to be on top of things, is the Discord channel, and just join, and yeah, and it's a great way to do that.
Nice. I'm going to put that in the YouTube chat so that people can join the Flockwork Discord if you'd like to do that. Oh, I've just
Yeah,
minimized the thing. Nice. Yeah, so some of these, I'm seeing that there's like, so this is all, we've got like maybe about a dozen things on there at the moment. And this is something
yeah,
that I often stress to people on my channel. Like a lot of these opportunities that we talk about, same on Fast Action Network, same on, we do these mass lobbying days. A lot of
mhm,
times it's not the case that there's like, tens of thousands of people already doing this and you'll just be one more person added to the list. There's like a small number of people who do a lot oftentimes. And I bet you'll have,
mhm.
a couple of volunteers who've done way more hours than anyone else and that kind of thing. Am I right?
Yeah, like me being like reviewing and everything, we do get like our regulars,
That's
and
excellent.
yeah, and like yeah, of course, like I even know their like name, and like and also organizations and individuals from organizations. So that's pretty much what we are aiming for, because again, we just want to make it easier for everyone, and again, both parties, and that's pretty much it, because and that's why I'm like so proud of being like the head of the project, because I just really believe in it, because again, I started volunteering um less than 2 years ago. This October will be 2 years, so honestly I don't think it's been that long. I mean, in my head it's been like, it's felt like, oh my god, like an eternity, right? But like now that looking back, I'm like, it hasn't even been that long. So yeah, it's been a really wild ride with a lot of changes and everything. But again, it's because I kept showing up, and this is pretty much a tool for people to show up. And I'm literally like, yeah, we're literally just handing them the tool, and it's like, here, it's a free tool, you can use it to show up and like keep showing up for the animals. And again, it's from your house, from your laptop, so you can just do that. Obviously, I know sometimes volunteering can be kind of a privilege, but again, if you have time to doom scroll, and I keep saying that because I do social media a lot, so I love doom scrolling. So yeah, again, if I can get like some doom scrolling time, I can do some volunteering, and And yeah, that's my mindset. And again, it is a privilege sometimes for people, but I feel like nowadays, if not all of them, but like most people have at least like some time to, I don't know, maybe not everyone is into doom scrolling, but anything like that, like any recreational time, or then you can just grab a little bit of that. Because and again, it depends. Because not all of the roles are that demanding. There's ones that are obviously more demanding than others, and it does depend on the skill set that you are interested in and everything, and the same projects, because again, there's like longer timelines, and it's like an ongoing thing, or shorter task and just like a really specific task, and then the project is over. So it does depend, and we do have those, I guess you could say, two types of different projects. um but in general, it's just like, I feel like trying and seeing what happens. Worst case scenario, you just get our emails and you can just also join, because that's also the thing. You don't have to, for example, for the community call, as long as you're signed up, then you will still already be part of our community. So you can also join our community call regardless of whether you've have actively volunteered yet or not. So that's also another thing. Like, we're not like, oh, only if you've volunteered, not at all. Like, we're just open, and like if people are willing to and want to be a part of our community, of course. And again, like, we're just like happy that people are just willing to even like sign up, because that's already a sign for us that people are interested and willing to give their time, and just like there's a little bit of interest, right? And again, that's what we want to do. We want to achieve like the easiest path possible for both parties, and just to have it's like and again, I'm like going back and like repeating myself, but I'm like, I wish I had this when I started like 2 years ago, because I needed to like, I don't even know how. I honestly, like, looking back, I don't even know how I found my first volunteering position. I actually, and I still have it actually. I'm the head of social media for Connect for Animals. That
Oh,
was my
nice.
very first role. That was my very first role. Connect for Animals. Shout out to Steven. Like, I love Steven Rogue. He's like such an amazing human being. And he's pretty much, yeah, he was pretty much one of my first connections in the movement. So yeah, and like Connect for Animals as a whole. So I'm obsessed with Connect for Animals. And I just never thought like, oh yeah, like if I get this role right now, then in like of like some years I'm gonna like, like you don't really do that. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's that's part of why volunteering. And I've heard like so many things, and like I know like so many of my friends have had something like this happen, where it's like showing up pays off, and sometimes it won't, but it's
100%.
still, it pays off for yourself too, and that's fine. And again, if I could just keep volunteering for my whole life, I hope I can, and I hope I will. But like, yeah, it just such an amazing thing, and I guess that's why I really believe in the project, and I'm like really excited. I'm like, please,
100%.
like, I just need to like spread the word and put the word out there, because I'm just like, I'm pretty much one of them. I'm like, I'm still a volunteer. And we have like also like a really different like age range too, which is really really
Mm.
exciting to me. We get like a lot of just like different generations who volunteer, which is something I find really cool, because um I mean, I'm Gen Z. I'm like 20. I'm 22. But I feel like there's even younger people who volunteer, because again, you do need to be more than 18 to apply for something, because but in general, we do have like a really really good range of ages, and I feel like that gives me a lot of hope, where it's like, oh, there's a lot of people who are interested. And like I said, there's also a lot of non-vegans who volunteer, because again, you do not have to be a vegan. We do ask whether you're vegan or not, uh just like for our records and just to see, but like in general, like, it's not like a requirement to for that. So yeah, that's another really cool thing, and it's kind of, I guess, cool, and I guess mixed feelings to see a lot of non-vegans volunteering
Hmm.
rather than the actual vegans, which is kind of I don't know, it's like, huh, that's like weird, right?
It's kind
Because
of
you would think
interesting.
like,
Yeah,
oh,
certainly.
isn't it? Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, not diminishing anyone's like thing. I know, like, but that's the point. I would love for more vegans who are already kind of involved, right, to be even more involved and to be giving their time and like skills as much as they can, you know. Because again, I
100%.
understand sometimes it's like not, I guess not possible, but in some level, like I guess sometimes it is definitely like even a privilege to be able to work without a pay or like volunteer. But again, maybe if you have like a little bit of like, yeah, again, I go back to my doom scrolling example, then I feel like that's an
You've got
easy
some
way to
time.
think
You've
about
got
it.
some time to spend. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I like the.
Yeah.
I like that you said you're obsessed with Connect for Animals. I think that like a healthy obsession is such a good thing. And like, as I said to you before, you came on the channel. You know, I have a pretty modest audience. We're maybe like a dozen people in a stream, a couple of hundred views on the videos. It's not a huge number of people, but for the people who do show up, like a lot of them are really have that good, positive, healthy obsession. And some of the things that I've started doing, like the Fast Action Network, I've for a long time was leading the leaderboard there, and for
Mm, nice.
somebody who came in was just like has been so locked on with it. This guy called Tristan King in my community came in as like very obsessed with doing all of the actions on there and has overtaken me on the points there. And there's other people who I don't know if they are public about this, but like have come across my content and now give thousands of dollars or thousands of pounds to animal charities as well. So it's just
Yeah.
like a small number of people who become very much obsessed. And again, I think that's a really good thing in this context
Mhm.
that you
Yeah.
can really be someone who drives a lot of the difference. And you have a long tail of people then who are like, you know, interacting to some extent, but are not necessarily always the top of the leaderboard or whatever. But you only need a small number of people who are really, really locked on to doing things to make a massive difference, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, and for sure, I do not like, especially talking about like social media and stuff. I do not even think it's about quantity sometimes. It's mostly about quality and how obsessed people might get with and like how people might take action. So of course, like everyone wants like quantity. We talk about like social media. It's like how many followers do you have? How many views? You know, and totally. But I feel like talking about stuff like this specifically in the movement and everything, it's so valuable to even just have one person, but as long as they take action, then I feel like that already makes a difference for the movement and the animals, and that's all that matters. So yeah, it's again, I don't think it's always about quantity. It's mostly about quality, and well, quality in this sense, for me at least, would be taking action and showing up. Because again, I think that's a term that I've said many times now, but it's so true. And again, everything is pretty much based in my own thing, and I wouldn't even be here if I didn't believe in the project. And that's pretty much how VH like hired me at the beginning, where it was pretty much, and I was told that, so I do take pride in that because of my passion for volunteering, because it's true, and I do really believe in it, because I am so thankful, for example, again, for like for Connect for Animals, because they gave me like my first opportunity, you know. They, because not everyone is like willing to open just the door for you, you know, even if it's a volunteering role. So that's also really cool about Flockwork. Like we're just able to work directly with those open doors in a way, and we just connect you to those open doors. Because again, I needed to do it myself, and it was great, and I'm not complaining at all. But I'm just saying it would have been easier and faster for me to just have Flockwork rather than me having to like look around. Like also, we don't have any like whole like interviews anymore. Like you do not have to go through any like interviews or more filters through Flockwork. Like you just get matched and that's it. If you get the role and if you're a match, then you just get notified and directly connected to the organization and the person who is like leading the project. And that's about it. Like there's nothing like, for example, I needed to go through, it was pretty much like a job, you know, like I like a,
Mm.
because it is a job, you know, in the way it is totally like a job, even if it's unpaid. It is something like a responsibility and it's a role, so it's like, yeah, obviously, like really formal too. So yeah, I needed to do my like interviews and everything, and there's a process and everything, and here you kind of get to skip that, which is also pretty cool because you it kind of like takes the pressure off in a way, at least for me, because I remember like for Connect for Animals I needed to do like my interview and everything. I was like, oh my god, am I gonna get it or not? Pretty much like when you're applying for jobs, it's also
Yeah.
like, because it's also really serious, like you're helping the movement and you're giving, but they want to check that you're, like you said, like you never know, you always take a chance with like getting a new person to do something for you, like a new position, because it is a job, even if it's unpaid, and even if it's like a volunteer role. So yeah, I just think I'm just like really, really thankful. And that's why I believe so much in the project again, because I'm just, again, I'm one of those people, like I'm one of the volunteers. I'm still a volunteer. And again, I need to cut my doom scrolling time and I do other stuff apart from doom scrolling, which is nice. That's why I use that example a lot because it's so true. But yeah, I guess that's why I'm like also so thankful, for example, like for Connect Ramos, because they gave me my first shot, and again, not everyone is willing to. So we pretty much have those open doors to offer to volunteers who are the right match. And they have the skills and we have the door and we just connect them. That's pretty much what we do. And again, no interviews or anything, which is also kind of nice for both parties again.
Yeah, that's cool. So that's something that's changed, has it? You used to have an interview stage, but now the organizations are choosing people just based on their online applications.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, nice, nice. All right, well that's cool. Um, I'm trying to think. I've got a list of questions that I can ask you here. Some of the stuff we've already covered.
Oh,
Is
nice.
I really like the impact page. I actually hadn't seen that before. You just pulled it up there with the number of hours and the
Oh,
amount of
yeah.
money saved and stuff like that. That's really really cool. Do you think
Mhm.
that? What's your sense of like the projects that you do facilitate? Are they? I suppose it's a mix, but how many of them do you think are uh, the organization would have paid someone otherwise versus they just wouldn't, there's valuable work that just wouldn't be done.
I honestly feel like most of them. Yeah, for sure. Because uh anything adds up. Like every single thing adds up. So I feel like all of them just add up in a way. Whether it's a tiny task, like anyone out there will like charge you for like to do anything. So yeah, every single one adds up to the final number.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But are they um yeah, I guess that some of them would be, if they didn't have a volunteer, they would either pay someone or like it just wouldn't happen, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Whether they would need to, that's pretty much the point, like being able to relocate the money they would spend in that
Mm,
like work. Oh yeah, or it wouldn't really happen because there's also some projects who are just like that are just like on hold until they get the
right.
volunteers. So either they wouldn't happen or, sorry about the question. I was like, what did this mean? But yeah, whether they wouldn't happen or they would need to, like, yeah, obviously like pay someone to do it. And
Yeah.
again, like the most of the projects, if not like, yeah, I wouldn't say all of them, but like, yeah, they're really like like smaller organizations or nonprofits and everything, so they don't really have enough funds and all of this. So yeah, I guess both. I would say most of them probably would have to get someone else under like a paid position, or yeah, and then I guess the rest wouldn't really happen because yeah, sometimes they're just on hold where it's like, okay, we have this footage, but we don't know how to edit it, and that's it,
Right.
and there's nothing else, and they have no funds, so it's like, yeah, it's like it's stuck there. So yeah,
And
so yeah, we should.
are they mostly like project based, like a defined, this we're going to do this for a couple of months and then the job is done, or obviously your position is kind of ongoing, right? The social media posting.
Yeah, yeah. I normally advise organizations and well, opportunity posters to be as specific as possible, because that gives both parties clarity from the very beginning. Because sometimes they will, like, yeah, they will post this, like, like social media person needed. And that's like, for example, it's just like a really broad example, but like it's just such a broad concept, and I'm like, okay, social media. And it's not, I'm not saying it's impossible to get something like that, but we do normally ask for at least like estimated time, in like estimated time, for like weekly. Okay, how many hours a week do you want this person to commit to? Because that's easier for us to be able to go out there and tell the volunteers, okay, this is the role, you need
Yeah.
to have this hours. So I normally tell the organizations, I rather have different tasks. For example, I think sometimes it's better instead of like having one like social media person, if they split it into like three different postings, and it's like, okay, yeah, social media, but what do you mean about that? Okay, like, yeah, we want some, like, one person editing, one person engaging and posting on Instagram, for example, and like, I don't know, and one person taking care of TikTok. So it's like, okay, one person edits, and we have this one role where it's like, okay, editing videos on CapCut for nonprofit. Then that's the task. And then it's like, oh, it's about like 3 hours a week. It's
Hmm.
like, okay, this is something way easier, and the scope is so much more like the feet are on the ground. And then it's like, okay, we can go
Right.
to the volunteers, and like volunteers know what they're committing to, and like they know what they're getting into, and it's way easier for both parties, again, because sometimes if it's too broad, it's way harder to get people to commit, because it's valid, because it's also their time, and it's also their
Hmm.
skills and everything. So yeah, it's way easier to do it in smaller ones
I
to
see.
meet.
Yeah. So you
Yeah,
maybe are advising them sometimes to break up what would be one job into several narrower scope, smaller jobs. Hey, because there's only so much that you can do in 2 or 3 hours a week. Say
exactly.
you're not going to be able
There's
to do too
yeah,
broader stuff. Yeah.
exactly. And also because there's sometimes, if it's too broad, people might be like, not really, because sometimes you see this like opportunity, and it's like, oh, you have to have all this stuff, and you will be like, okay, I have 1 out of 10 things that they list, so that's not for me, that's not calling to me. But if it's like a way more specific one, where it's like, okay, do you know how to edit in CapCut, and do you know how to do this, or do you know how to code this, then it's like, oh, I do, and that's it. Like, instead of having a bullet list of like 10 things that like requirements for this role, then it's like, okay, there's 3 requirements. Do you meet them? Then this is for you. It's also easier for us to be able to get one person to do like tasks like that. And it can also be an ongoing thing, because it's like, okay, maybe we don't have a timeline for that, but it would be around like 8 hours a week. And you would need to take care of the, like, yeah, posting on social media for like an ongoing time. And that's also valid. Like, so it's not like impossible to get volunteers, but I'm just saying it's like a little bit clearer from the beginning. And sometimes it can change depending on, because again, we kind of like let go after
Mm.
the matching and everything. And they do, like, yeah, like the volunteer and the organization do have contact. Sometimes we do need to like maybe facilitate if a person is not replying or something like that. We do take like that. But in general, it's like mostly them, like, because we are just like the bridge. So maybe the project shifts and they need more time or less hours, and like, yeah, that is totally up to both directly the volunteer and the organization. And well, I guess like human just relations at the end of the day. So yeah, it's definitely up to them at that moment. But yeah, in general, we try to, I guess I would say, try to break it up a little bit.
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, look, we're coming towards the end of our time. But I'd love to ask you about like your ambitions for the platform in the future. I think there's more than one person in my audience who will become one of these obsessed volunteers and take every opportunity. I hope that's the case.
Fingers crossed.
I think so. Yeah. But you've got your like tracking metrics to some extent. You know that how many hours volunteered and how much that's saved for organisations. Do you have goals now that you're steering the ship as to where you'd like to see those numbers go in the next year or couple of years, say?
Yeah, we do. I don't know if I'm allowed to like share the actual like KPIs that
Okay.
we have and everything. But for example, I don't know, like one of our dreams is just like going to the next AVA summit next year and asking at least like, I don't know, 30 people, where do you get your volunteers from? And then they say them saying Flockwork, like that's something where it's like, okay, that sounds like something we could potentially achieve. And I'm like, I will do my best to accomplish something like that. But yeah,
Nice.
we're always working on our impact tracking, and I'm also really excited about that. And we're like always updating it because again, we want to get more and more applications every day from both volunteers and organizations. So as long as we have that, it like the numbers will go up and up and up, and more animals will be helped, and that's pretty much what we want to achieve. And we want to make it again as easier as possible, and we want to back our volunteers too, because again, it's like, and I have that like volunteers are just so close to my heart because again, I'm like one of them, so I might be a little bit biased, but it's so true. I'm like really, really, I'm really passionate about the project, and I'm really passionate about the fact that I don't know, it gives you a little bit of hope where it's like people are actually willing to do this because that's also another thing. And that's why I feel, for example, the new thing we're gonna try, the community calls, something I think I would have loved having back in my day. I feel like really old, like, oh yeah, back in my day. But it's so true. I'm like, back in my day, I wish like I had something like that because again, this could be like the very first step someone is taking towards like the animal rights movement or like nonprofit world and everything. And it's just like so nice to see people coming together. And that's a way to like get together for a little bit, even if it's online. Like community is just amazing. And the fact that everyone is pretty much united by the same thing and we're in different parts of the world, but we're willing to give our time and passion and everything, and we're working towards the same goal, whether we even like speak the same languages or not. That is just amazing. And like even if it's not in the same country or the same continent, even like I don't know, there's just like really cool sense of like hope that I get from working with volunteers and also organizations. Because they're also like such an obviously important part of what we do, just like again being willing to open the door for our volunteers. I think that's also a really good opportunity because again, from experience, like it's not as easy as it may sound, like, oh, I can just go and like look for volunteering positions. Like yeah, obviously you can, but it does take a little bit more time and effort, and that's pretty much what we want to avoid. And we just want to be like, okay, here it is, do whatever you like with this resource.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I wish you best of luck with the platform. Platform is flockwork.org. People can check it out. I posted the link
Yeah,
to the Discord server as well, so that people
thank
can
you.
join. But yeah, I think it's a really, really cool concept, and I do hope that people from my audience end up there.
Thank
And
you. It's like
yeah,
I really,
join the
really hope
masses.
so. And again, like I don't know, like if someone has a question or needs to reach out or like something like that, I'm always like all ears, whether it's like my email or whatever you can like give them, because I have no idea, like my Instagram, anything like that. I'm also like really happy to just, my DMs are always open over there, or like more formal email or anything, like just yeah, for sure.
Appreciate you. Thanks so much, Ximena. I really appreciate you coming on talking to me.
Thank you so much, Chris, and see you online then. It
All
was
right.
great talking to you. Thanks for
Yeah, nice
having me
talking
and
to
for your
you. See you
time.
soon. Cheers
Bye.
then. Nice. Well, there you go. That was Ximena Rodriguez from Vegan Hacktivists talking about the Flockwork platform. I'll put the link one more time in the chat. Flockwork.org. And you can go and sign up to volunteer for animal organisations. Looks like there's a good range of opportunities on there. There's some things in social media and some things in design. I can see some people in my audience being very keen on this kind of thing, so I'm pleased to get the chance to share it. Well, there you go. I'm going to leave it there, guys. We read a little bit about Factory Farming 2.0, and I feel compelled now to read the Sandcastles post about the same topic, although I know it's a very long one. But maybe we'll get on that later this week. And we spoke to Ximena Rodriguez about Flockwork. Really, really great opportunity for people who want to get more involved, doing more specialized things in the movement for movement organizations, and who knows where those opportunities will lead. A lot of people who have paid jobs in the movement now started out doing some form of volunteering. It's a great way to get a foot in the door, get known, meet the right people. So I encourage you to check it out. Thank you so much for joining the stream today. I really appreciate everyone who's been here. Jeremy, Tone, Oppenheimer. We had Benzo in here. Alicia as well. Smoke and Mirrors was here earlier on. That's a treat. Bretta Barnes. Thank you guys all so much for joining. And I will see you next stream. Cheers.